No, we're not really feeling a huge amount of reform, and they've certainly gone backwards. I was in Northamptonshire briefly yesterday, and where they had been seemingly doing well a week ago, they seem to be dropping back, according to the people I was talking to on the doorstep. I think a big part of that has been Nigel Farage. Farage had been saying about Ukraine. Now, as you said at the beginning, as a former defence secretary, I think it's completely irresponsible and completely unacceptable to try to make the case that there's a moral equivalence between NATO, a peaceful organization of sovereign democratic countries who come together in a defense pact, and the Soviet Union, which is an internal brutal dictatorship, which abuses human rights, which has invaded Georgia, annexed Crimea, and continues to rain down death
on that
on the
point,
people
though,
of Ukraine. There is no moral equivalence here. We did not provoke the war. We did not provoke the war in Ukraine. NATO did not provoke the war in Ukraine. The West did not provoke it.
Dr. Fox, park the comments on Ukraine per se, but the allegation from Nigel Farage that Boris Johnson was a hypocrite is kind of fair, because I remember the front pages in 2016 during the Brexit referendum, when one Boris Johnson said that EU expansion and ever-growing sort of NATO pressure was to blame for the annexation of Crimea. I mean, he said it himself, right?
Well, I thought that was, as I said yesterday, I thought that was tosh then, and I think it's tosh now.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that Boris Johnson coming out swinging at Nigel Farage. I know there's bad blood there over the deal they did in 2019, but on the hypocrisy, he's got a point, right?
Well, I think Boris Johnson was wrong on that, but I think for Nigel Farage to say Boris Johnson was the worst Prime Minister of all time.
I mean, there's been a few of them of late.
It showed how thin-skinned,
there's quite a few to pick from, right?
How thin-skinned he was. But I think there's a bigger issue here, if I may, which is that it's not just that it plays into the hands of Putin and it gives Putin an excuse to say, well, you see, I was provoked by NATO. It's actually a dangerous worldview, because what it says is that sovereign countries, and I campaigned to leave the European Union, and I'm pleased that we did, because we were able to make decisions for ourselves. And I think it's really quite striking that the argument gets made that Britain should be able to make its own decisions. Western European countries should be able to make their own decisions about how they defend themselves and the allies that they have, but East European countries should not be able to do so because it might upset Russia. Yeah. I simply cannot accept that. People who've got free from the Soviet Union are perfectly entitled to whatever defense relationships they want. They are free and sovereign democratic states and have the same rights as we do.
I want to ask you a very specific question. Do you think that Nigel Farage's comments render him a fit and proper person to be an MP?
I think it would. I think he's not fit to hold high office in the United Kingdom. Whether he can overcome the first barrier and actually become an MP in 9 attempts remains to be seen. But I think the views that he represents have gone down very badly and will go down very badly with the British people, who have been, let's face it, shoulder to shoulder with the people of Ukraine all through this, incredibly generous to the people of Ukraine themselves, and through their taxation, incredibly helpful to the government of Ukraine in defending itself against Russian aggression.
And just quickly before you go, would you welcome Nigel Farage into the Tory party in a post Sunak world?
Well, no, I don't think the people who set fire to your building are the people you want to have in as guests.
Dr. Fox, thank you for joining us on Never Mind the Ballots. Come again soon. 9 days to go. I hope we'll see you again before polling day. Thank you.